Welcome to Sisflix, the podcast where we won't judge you for talking through the movie. Sisflix are the movies you laugh at, yearn for, and overanalyze with your girls, significant others, and now us.
We are your hosts,
Paola
and Nadhya, two sisters and designers who discuss chick flicks we hate to love,
tropes we love to hate,
and all of the aesthetic choices in between. Join us as we break down our favorite movies together.
Hey, sister.
Hey, sister, you just drank out of a juice box, and I need everyone to know that. Guys, for those who aren't in the know, Paola is drinking Honest Kids apple juice out of a juice box. Sponsor us, sponsor us.
Listen, it's my drink on the go.
Oh my God.
It's no sugar added, and it's organic super fruit punch.
Sponsor us, sponsor us, sponsor us.
Happy unofficial Christmas time.
Bitch, happy Thanksgiving. What about that?
Thanksgiving's on Thursday.
Thanksgiving is on Thursday.
Today is still Christmas, and then Christmas starts again after Black Friday.
You're a ridiculous human being.
Yeah, Thanksgiving is just a pause for the Christmas holiday season.
For those of us who aren't here for Paola's Thanksgiving slander, welcome to our Thanksgiving gift episode where we thank you for giving us your ears for 2 hours at a time every couple weeks. Welcome to our favorite time of year for multiple reasons. Paola, you can go ahead. You can start with why this is one of your favorite times of year.
Well, I get to have Nadhya home with me for like a week. So there's that.
And that's a gift. That's the whole gift.
That's it. That's the
Paola
gift.
didn't mention anyone else in her family. I hope her husband's listening to this. That's the gift. And I need everyone to know that.
No, this is my favorite time of year because we gather so much. And I think that's my favorite. Like, we're about to have Thanksgiving and everybody's coming over my house.
Hell yeah.
And we're going to cook and eat and drink. And everybody's bringing food. And we're just going to talk shit the whole time. That's my favorite. Just talking shit with the family.
I'm so hype. I agree. We were really lucky as kids to have a family that was eager to get together at holidays and enjoyed the time that we spent together.
Yeah, you know what? I realized not everybody enjoyed, like, later on, I realized there's people like, oh, I gotta go see my family. It's like, oh my God, I'm so excited to go see my family.
Right. There are people who dread the holidays, and I think we've had our fair share of not amazing holidays.
Yeah, there's definitely been some dreading.
Some bad ones.
Circumstances.
But I think the memories of the good ones are so strong. It keeps us hopeful.
You know what it is? We're such a bullshit talking family. Like, we will endure. Like, the shit will go down, and then we're just gonna laugh about it and talk shit about it for the rest of however, and we get over it.
Yeah. For all of you listening who don't know other members of our family, again, very few of you, since all of the listeners are Paola and I, how much of a surprise is it that our whole family is shit talking? Not at all. Not a surprise for anybody on earth. So yes, our family's really good at joking about shit, having really dark humor, still enjoying each other, getting together. And that's something I've always been very grateful for in my adolescent 30 years of life. I'm just a small teenage 30-year-old girl. But I also wanted to say, on the date of recording, so today's the 10th of November, on the date of recording, we are 1 day into a new contract for the actors that are part of the SAG-AFTRA union.
Woo,
woo, woo. So I don't, if you guys were listening to our last episode that we released around Election Day, we are super duper supportive of labor unions, of the writers union, the WGA, of the actors union, SAG-AFTRA, who have both recently come to historic agreements after historically long strikes. So always support the content that you like. Always support if you have favorite writers that move from show to show or write specific movies, or favorite actors that, you know, give you some of your favorite content. Make sure to support them. Watch the stuff that they make, watch everything that they do, and hopefully everyone who works in that industry is able to make a better living because of these unions fighting for them and fighting for their contracts. Nothing that we discuss media wise in terms of these shows and movies that we love so much would exist without the work and the effort of the unions to bargain for fair contracts for their members. So
Okay, I have another question though.
okay, what's up?
Have you started listening to Christmas music yet?
No, dog. You know what day Christmas music starts?
No?
It's November 15th. I can't fucking stand you. You already know, my
Who
G.
made it? Did we make up this
Yes.
day? Why are we in sync?
We
Did
made
we
up
say
this day.
we made up this day?
We made it up together.
That's why it's ingrained in my mind. Like, no, November 5th.
I told my coworkers too. I was like, November 15th. That's a threat.
That's like right in the middle.
It's perfect because
Right?
then you get a solid like 35 days of Christmas cheer. And that's what I need. No one take that shit away from me. Why are
world
we
just
talking
needs more
about
happiness.
Christmas? Why are we talking about Thanksgiving? Why are we talking about the holidays? Paola, tell me.
We are covering one of our favorite holiday season movies.
It's a holiday season movie. It's an all year movie. It is a New York movie.
That's what it is. For all the reasons you love New York, this movie has it in it.
Yes.
Is it the skating rink? Is it the jazzy music? Is it Christmas? Is it New Year's? It's all in this movie.
Is it old people talking about how they met?
Oh,
Everything. It's all part of it, baby. What movie are we covering?
When Harry Met Sally.
So excited.
This movie, as many times as I've watched it, I crack up every time.
It's so good. This movie has one of the best scripts, period, of any movie I've ever seen, and the two best actors delivering the lines.
I go into this like phase where I'm like, oh, is it overrated? And then I watch and I'm like, no, the dialogue is so good.
It's peak. It's so good.
Because it's a rom-com, obviously. But the comedy isn't in your face. It's like this subtle comedy and timing and delivery all comes together for these perfect like punchlines. It really is like a perfect rom-com.
It's a perfect rom-com. I feel like it has become the blueprint of rom-coms, often imitated, never replicated. So
Bars.
I hate your guts. It took me a second. I hate you. Because I was like, the fuck did she say? So it's one of those movies that I feel like redefined its genre, right? There are genres of film where someone says horror and there's the one movie you think about when you imagine horror. Someone says rom-com, you're thinking When Harry Met Sally. If you have good taste, you're thinking When Harry Met Sally. I hope you're thinking Billy Crystal, Meg Ryan, specifically Meg Ryan, queen of a 90s rom-com, because it's the right energy. They're even, honestly, we can get into this a little bit later on. They're even the right age. They're an age that makes sense to me, not just because I currently am very close to the ages that they are in the largest chunk of the movie, but because why are we having a rom-com about a 21-year-old in college? No, you're going to break up in 15 minutes. You want a good rom-com where they stay together? These folks got to be in their 30s, baby.
Nora Ephron, man. That's the common denominator.
What a woman. What a woman.
Her writing and directing is
Fucking
chef's kiss.
A+. When we discussed You've Got Mail, one of the things that we talked about was this idea of the older leading man and woman, right? Where you can have this rom-com, the characters are kind of like in indefinite mid-30s, early to mid-30s, and you don't feel like you're watching children discovering themselves. You don't feel like you're watching centenarians discovering themselves. You feel like you're watching people who are firmly adults but are still learning about their own emotions and making, different choices about their personal lives in a way that's not patronizing or voyeuristic or creepy. I think that's something that Nora Ephron does really well. And when you get to When Harry Met Sally and you're looking at their ages again and you're looking at like, is Billy Crystal a leading man? He's not like as handsome or quote unquote whatever as we want a leading man to be. Listen, who among us is with a George Clooney, a Brad Pitt? All of us are with a Billy Crystal. I can't stand your ass. I'm leaving that in because I need your husband to hear it. I have a Is there an actor Ryan looks like? I don't know. I've
You
got a
have
snowman.
Rhaegar Targaryen.
Rhaegar Targaryen. I've got Rhaegar Targaryen.
No, but you're definitely right when you say like early 2000s was definitely Brad Pitt, George Clooney,
Oh, Leonardo
fucking
DiCaprio as well.
Morris Chestnut, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah. I think they just messed up. I think putting people that look like that, and I'm also not trying to say that Billy Crystal and Tom Hanks aren't like attractive men or don't have their charms or whatever. I think when you establish a very narrow definition of what attractiveness is, both for men and women, both men and women, I think in the 80s and 90s and 2000s, like the aughts, really struggled with how we perceived attractiveness and like what people we considered attractive. I think it was a very racially narrow definition of beauty.
For mainstream movies, yes.
That's something that I really like about rom-coms from this era, that the people feel a lot more relatable because they look a lot more like people.
Yeah.
Like Billy Crystal's skin is not perfect and his hair is not perfect and he's not 7 feet tall and he's not ripped to death with abs like a washboard. He's like a guy. And Meg Ryan is a beautiful woman and she's beautiful in every movie that she's in.
She is so pretty in this movie too.
Her makeup, mwah.
Her skin is flawless.
Yeah, her skin is gorgeous.
And her bright ass eyes.
Oh my God. When people with blue eyes talk to you.
Just stare into your soul.
Anyway, that's something that I really like and I feel like becomes more apparent to me watching these movies as an adult. Whereas when I was a kid, you're looking at older people in movies and you're just like, everyone's old. Ha 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 ha. But, right? Like, gross, old. And then you get closer to the ages that these people are, or you become the ages that these people are. And you're like, no, this just looks like my friend Dave. Or like, this just looks like my friend Susie. Like, these are real people to me, but that's something about this movie, I think just aesthetically off the bat, that I appreciate.
Yeah, I appreciate he's not like a heartthrob.
Yeah, because he's so funny. He's got so much like good, I mean, his delivery is phenomenal. Like, it makes perfect sense.
His comedic timing is perfection.
Now that I spent too much time talking about how I'm glad that Billy Crystal's not hot in this movie, let's move on to some of the background details. So, When Harry Met Sally, released in 1989, directed by Rob Reiner with his screenplay, one of the best fucking screenplays, exquisite dialogue, by Nora Ephron. Starring Meg Ryan as Sally Albright, Billy Crystal as Harry Burns, Carrie Fisher as Sally's best friend Marie, and Bruno Kirby as Harry's best friend Jess. Music and additional arrangements by Harry Connick Jr. The soundtrack is a compilation of standards performed by Harry Connick Jr. with a big band and orchestra arranged by Mark Shaman. The album went double platinum and went to #1 on the jazz Billboard charts. Harry Connick Jr. won his first Grammy for Best Jazz Male Vocal Performance on this soundtrack. Can I just say a couple things about Harry Connick Jr.? Because
speaking of unattractive men, tell me about Harry
Connick Jr. He's another one. Hello. And you know who has a great Christmas album? Fucking Harry Connick Jr. His Christmas album is fabulous.
Yeah, speaking of Christmas music, that's right.
It's a great Christmas album. Harry Connick Jr.'s Christmas album. Sponsor us. We think you're great. Costume design by Gloria Gresham. And production design by Jane Muskie. I looked up Jane Muskie briefly. I haven't done a million years of research on this because I haven't. I looked up Jane Muskie. She was born the same year as our parents. So the movie came out in 89. She was only 34 years old. And that really makes me reconsider many choices I've made. Anyway.
You know what? And you're talking about like the tangibility of like having that relationship in your 30s and how they're normal people, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But they really had us believing that by our early 30s, we'd have like a brownstone.
Oh, a loft apartment.
Mm-hmm. A loft apartment.
On the Upper West Side. Mm-hmm.
We would be successful journalists and lawyers. And
political consultants.
But we would be killing it at 32. Killing it.
Background information and little interesting facts. So, Rob, Rob Reiner and Billy Crystal conceptualized this idea together after Rob Reiner's divorce in the mid 80s and his experiences while dating in New York City. Sally Albright is based on a lot of different aspects of Nora Ephron's personality, specifically the intense way that she orders.
I think that's wild.
I love it so much.
Tell me, Nadja, tell me, why do you love this movie?
I know that I grew up seeing it like on TV, like catching half of it here and a third of it there and in between commercials on TBS or something like that. And I didn't revisit it in full until I was an adult because of you, because this was one of your comfort movies. So it's another movie that I associate a lot with our relationship and how we experience media in a lot of the same ways, with a lot of similar background, of course, because we are sisters. So it's a movie that brings me a lot of joy in that it's a big part of our relationship with movies, you and I. And I love this movie because it is fucking sharp. It's so smart. It's so witty, and like, it's 40 years old, I guess, 35 years old, but it feels so witty and contemporary still. And I love when the time period of a movie doesn't impact your level of enjoyment of it. Like, there are one or two kind of off-color jokes and comments, sure, because any movie made before now is gonna have something that you can pick apart and find offensive. One or two off-color comments in a movie from 1989 is like, that's the golden egg that you just found. It reinforces my belief that to be funny, you don't have to punch down. Like, you don't have to make weird racial jokes, weird sexist jokes. I mean, anyone could argue that maybe the premise of this movie is sexist, but it's never presented in a way that feels like it's minimizing women. It's never presented in a way where women are the butt of the joke. But this movie doesn't have to resort to that type of humor to still be considered funny. And I think that's one of the reasons that it ages so well. And because it was written by a woman. Like, I think that's a lot of why I love the script so much. I revisit it several times a year. It was one of Paola's comfort movies. It became one of my comfort movies. And it's perfect for autumnal viewing. It's perfect for winter viewing. That's kind of why we wanted to do it around this time of year, landing in this like liminal space between Halloween and Christmas. Thanksgiving often gets overlooked, but you're really kind of enjoying this last gasp of fall and the beautiful colors, the trees, the parks, before jumping headfirst into the holiday season. And this movie is kind of like perfect content for that period of time. Did you tell us why you love it?
Yes. So When Harry Met Sally, You've Got Mail, they're my November go-tos because it's like the start of the holiday season, and it's like you traverse the seasons in this movie, and the key points happen on New Year's. You see Christmas go by, they're buying their Christmas trees, they're decorating their homes. You don't see anything about Thanksgiving, but to me, it's one of those movies that helps me get into the holiday season. And it's not even because Christmas is a big thing in the movie. It's not. It's just the autumnal feel of the movie and the lightheartedness of it.
And there is this sense, not to get like too meta about it, but between their two characters, as you get into the meat of the plot, there's this sense of like kind of rebuilding and becoming again that autumn brings. Autumn is the reminder that your year is ending and that you're going to start fresh soon, or you're in the process of starting fresh. And their characters are doing something very similar, both personally and in their relationship together as the movie goes on.
Yes. And it seems like New Year's is always like their pivotal moment. Relationship.
That's usually, and I just want to commend myself because that's usually the type of analysis that Paola has the insight to make. And I'm just like, pretty colors.
Get out of here.
So proud of me. we here.
The number one reason I love this movie is the dialogue.
Oh yeah.
It's why I can go back and watch it 100 times. I laugh at the same jokes. I cackle every time I watch this movie. Part 2 of why I can rewatch this movie over and over. The soundtrack, baby. Give me a jazzy fucking soundtrack and I will watch it over and over just so I can sing along to Louis Armstrong and Harry Connick Jr.
This movie is such a nostalgia hit in like the loveliest way. I'm such a fan of the soundtrack and the score.
So those are my major reasons for loving this movie. And then it's timeless. Obviously, when you're watching like 90s movies, late 90s, even early 2000s, as a person of color watching it, you definitely feel the lack of representation. Like you feel it. It's almost like, wow, really? The one person of color is
the waitress.
A waitress. But the themes of relationships and love are timeless. And I love the interviews with the couples. They get me every time.
They're so perfectly acted.
They really are. So Nora Ephron, interviewed couples, and then she took those stories and hired actors to portray the stories that these people were saying in their interviews. So that's why it feels so authentic. Like you hear these stories and they're not just stories you're going to make up.
Yeah.
They're like so unique to these people.
If you tried to write that story, it would feel like, ugh, I'm overdoing it. But you hear it the same way we all know unique people in real life, and you hear the story and you're like, oh, totally. That totally happened.
Yeah. So I think that those excerpts that she included in the movie are so important to giving the movie life.
Absolutely.
So I love that she did that, and it just makes it timeless. And the fact that they're older people, like, right? So you have like that, like, this is coming from wisdom. This is coming from somebody who's lived their life, and this is like one of the most important things that happened to them. It's like when you're listening to your grandma tell a story about when she met your grandfather or your aunts and uncles. Like, I love that. Yeah.
It goes without saying, this will be a two-parter. So let's discuss the scorecard. Paola, straight or queer story?
You know what I would
This
love?
Is heterosexual.
Very. I don't think you got to remake this movie because it's a great movie.
Yeah, it's pretty perfect.
Like, I would have loved to see a modern take on this movie where you're including queer couples, where you're including biracial couples, where you're including couples of color. I would just love to see more Black and brown representation and more queer representation. You're talking about a movie about love against all odds. Like, through time, people that keep bumping into each other and, like, it feels almost faded.
Like, everyone experiences that, not just straight white people.
I would love to see it filled a bit more color.
So,
yeah.
Does it have source material?
It doesn't. It's an original screenplay. Nora Ephron killed it.
So, Nora Ephron, the story is by a woman. The movie was directed by a man, Rob Reiner. Rob Reiner is a hilarious comedian. One of the things that he was most famous for, which I did not know until very recently, was that he was one of the main characters in All in the Family, a very famous TV show that was created by Norman Lear in the 1970s. And he played the like hippie-ish son-in-law of a very conservative patriarch. That show honestly was like legendary, right? Like for its time and as a sitcom. And my awareness of Rob Reiner is from fucking New Girl because he plays Jess's dad. And that's why I know who he is.
I didn't even know that.
Which is very embarrassing for me. But he's so fucking funny. And he's also directed a ton of other movies and other movies that we loved as well. So very cool. Rob Reiner seems really, really fun. What's the trope?
I think this is my favorite trope.
Friends to lovers.
Friends to lovers.
I love a friends to lovers.
Like, only rivaled by enemies to lovers.
The only thing I love more than this is the complete opposite of it.
And I can't even say I love it more. It's just like they right there. I'm gonna take either you.
I love enemies to lovers because I love like a little bit of unbridled hate cut by sexual tension. Friends to lovers I also love because I think that's a place that feels very relatable.
I think we've all been the friend that's kind of got feelings for the friend and like you're not sure. And also, for me purposes, a friends to lover story carries just a hint more yearning.
Yes.
There's like a bit more sadness in a friends to lover story.
I think the stakes feel a little bit higher.
They do.
Because
you lose something either way.
You lose an important part of your life. Yeah, I guess whether it goes well or goes poorly, if it goes well, it's an evolution where now you get this person plus a romantic relationship. If it goes poorly, which it's like high likelihood it would, right? You don't often befriend people that you want to bone, but like that's the premise of this movie pretty much.
I mean, you should befriend people first before
you bone them.
I mean, if you believe most people, right, friendship is the foundation of a great relationship.
I would agree with that.
So you would want to be friends first if you plan on being in a relationship for somebody. I think we're in a place where not everybody's looking for relationships.
I think the stakes just feel higher. It's different when someone isn't a part of your life. Enemies to lovers, for example. They're not a part of your life, and then they kind of become one through your burgeoning romance relationship. It's different when they are already a part of your life. You know that you love having them there as a friend or in that capacity. And then it's the change that can ruin it. Because there are people, I'm sure, who end up dating their friends and the shit doesn't work out and it ends up being fucking weird. And guess what? Now you're not friends anymore because you know what you look like naked and no one wants to remember that when you're out to coffee with your friend. So those are the stakes in this movie kind of specifically, but also this genre in general. So let's fucking dig in.
All right. So a little back of the book summary of When Harry Met Sally. So we start off in 1977. College graduates Harry Burns and Sally Albright, they share a contentious car ride from Chicago to New York, during which they argue whether men and women can ever truly be strictly friends. After 10 years, they reconnect and attempt to stay friends without sex getting in the way. Question, Nadhya.
Let's go.
Do you think that men and women can be platonic friends?
I absolutely do. I have a bucket of platonic male friends. I am some people's platonic male friend. So yeah, I totally believe. Yeah, I totally believe that men and women can be friends. The premise of this movie always irked me. I think men are always incentivized to build emotional relationships with their partners and then neglect to form those relationships with anyone else. And that is why a heterosexual man would look at a woman, cisgendered heterosexual man would look at a woman and think, best friend, girlfriend? Question mark?
Friends with benefits?
Right, like sex and emotions? Because he's not thinking, oh, you could also be my friend. He's thinking, well, I've been shown my entire life that when man and woman, they sex. So like...
Men should be offended by that, for sure, 100%.
They should, but is it also symbolic of like a larger issue with men?
Well, it's a society issue with misogyny.
With misogyny, but also with allowing...
With the patriarchy.
Yes. We made it. We got there, baby. Criticize the patriarchy. You sit with us for 15 minutes and the patriarchy doesn't come up once. We're both asleep. So...
Honestly, truly. And it's unfortunate. But I think there's been more of a focus on men and mental health and healthy relationships. It's now becoming more mainstream to show men in emotionally healthy friendships.
This movie, I think Harry's friendship with Jess is actually like kind of healthy and nice.
It is nice.
Because we see them spend time together, like doing a variety of different activities. And as they're doing the activities, just being like, I'm seeing this new woman, or I'm having a hard time with this, etc., interacting and dissecting it together in a way that I think is really nice. Does that mean that his relationship with Sally doesn't become complicated? Of course not. Of course it does. But I stand firm in my belief that men and women can be friends as long as everyone has the expectation of friendship. Now that we've talked about that, it is time. Let's fucking get into this plot summary and commentary that we're going to try really hard not to directly quote, because when I tell you every line of dialogue is fucking iconic, every line of dialogue is fucking iconic. I think we need to pick and choose what we think is important. So the first shot of this movie is an older couple talking about how they met.
And like we mentioned before, these stories are real stories that Nora Ephron interviewed couples for and then had actors reenact, which I love that they do this in the movie. It brings just such like a wholesome feeling to this story.
And the woman in the segment looks absolutely lovely, but never speaks, which makes me real
She
sad.
doesn't speak. There's some of the couples where the woman doesn't speak, and then there's some of the couples where the woman won't shut up.
That's true. So maybe it's even. You know what I mean? We get it both
Maybe
ways.
I hope it's even. The ones where the woman doesn't speak, I feel like I don't know why I feel bad. Maybe I shouldn't, but my automatic feeling is to be like, oh, say something. And
it bums me out. But their love story is a happy one. And the reenactments read so authentically. You could have told me that these were the people she interviewed and I'd believe you because they feel real. The actors they found did an incredible job, genuinely. Must have gotten just superb direction. And the dialogue could not be written. You would never assume that the dialogue was written. This is not AI. This is people speaking, baby.
No.
And that's what we love about Nora Ephron.
Then we open up in 1977, University of Chicago, where we see two people fully making out.
One of whom is a comically aged down Billy Crystal.
So, I mean, who thought that Billy Crystal could sell as a 23-year-old? 23, right? Are we assuming it's 23?
So Meg Ryan's character, when they do the 10 years later, is 32. So they're supposed to be 22.
Can you imagine?
No.
20. His hairpiece is 22 years old.
I know. It's so bad. It's so bad. The other, a randomly pretty brunette with just a ridiculous head of hair. Like, she doesn't need that much hair, and I'm mad about it. You know what I mean? So, as the camera pans around them making out, a yellow station wagon comes into view with Meg Ryan behind the driver's seat. She is looking exquisitely 70s in a way that I'm obsessed with, okay? Because her hair, the hair is flipped out, voluminous. The eyeshadow, it's blue. The cardigan, navy. The nails, done. She's wearing this thin strap wristwatch that you always see in movies of this time period that I am obsessed with. If I was like a watch collector type person, I feel like I would have so many from the 70s and 80s because the proportions. We love a dainty wrist. So Meg Ryan honks her horn. She's done with this shit. She's been waiting long enough. The girl who we come to learn is named Amanda introduces comically aged down Billy Crystal with a hairpiece to beautiful young flower of the spring, Meg Ryan.
She looks like a daisy.
Yes, like a beautiful daisy. Aren't they the friendliest flower? This is officially when Harry meets Sally. Meg Ryan, in my personal opinion, very professional, is the only one in this scene who could even pass for someone who's been near a college in the last decade. She has this like youth in her face. She's so pretty.
Flawless skin.
She looks gorgeous. And her wig / extensions / natural hair blown out looks amazing. You learn that Harry and Sally are taking a long road trip from Chicago to New York because they have both ended up with life situations in New York after graduating from University of Chicago. Harry and his girlfriend Amanda exchange I love yous, and she seems so much more into him than he is into her.
She's like, call me. He's like, yeah. I'll call you when I got there. She's like, no, call me from the road.
And he's like, yeah, for sure.
He's not calling
You'll
her.
never hear from this man again, and you better come to terms with that. So
he don't love you.
They get into the car. Already, I think visually, the differences between them are so funny because Sally seems to be very waspy, very preppy, bright, positive, happy. Even like her makeup is bright. The blue eyeshadow, pink cheeks. She's blonde.
Sally Albright.
Meanwhile, Billy Crystal has this hair that they thought was a good idea and looks very morose. His whole facial expression is like down. Like they are kind of like polar opposites of each other.
Right off the top, they want to give you like this morally gray Billy Crystal. Like you're not sure how you feel about this guy.
You're not meant to like him right away. you're meant to like Sally, even though you find out she's an incredibly type A person, but Billy Crystal's gonna annoy you, and we are going to refer to them interchangeably by their actor and character names. That's just how it is, baby. So, so we learn as we get into the car, Sally has planned every mile of this trip because she's nuts. That's what we learn about Sally. She knows what the fuck is up. Both of us envy this.
I envy this. Like, hold on. You just graduated from college and you're this organized? Where? Who raised you?
The two women with ADHD talking to you on this podcast could never, literally.
I could never.
And we are in our 30s. Great. So Harry is chaotically eating grapes with seeds in them. I don't know if that was a thing in the 70s. Maybe it was. We don't have seeds in our grapes anymore, bitches.
Oh, well, when grapes were
from the
fully
earth,
natural and not genetically modified, yes, they had fucking seeds in them. I'm proud to say I'm old enough to have had a grape with seeds in them.
Can't relate. So he
fucking spits into the window.
He must assume that the window is open. So he
without wind?
I don't know. So he spits the seeds of this grape literally onto the window. And I'm going to say something. He doesn't even wipe it off before rolling the window down.
Yo, the way this scene is so chaotic.
Floods me with rage.
100%. And I don't say that. This floods me with rage.
Paola doesn't say that as lightly as I do, because I will say it several times a day. I'll be flooded with rage often. Paola's not.
Dude, what is this? You're spitting out the window. You're gross. You're gross.
Can't relate.
Who raised you?
Darkness. Darkness raised him.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
After this disgusting moment, he's rolled the window down and is now spitting the grape seeds out the window. That is so fucking gross. Harry asks Sally, why don't you tell me the story of your life? And Sally, rather appropriately for a 21, 22-year-old fresh out of college, answers, my life hasn't really started yet. My life so far has been pretty chill and boring. Sally will be heading off from undergrad, going to journalism school, and Harry has a job lined up. So both of them are entering big fancy new chapters of their lives.
So Harry's a bit older than her then.
He's
you
probably
count, like, what, 2 years older
probably
than her?
2 years, yeah, I would say. That's what we're led to believe, at least. So Sally is attending journalism school, and Harry says, so you can write about things that happen to other people, because he's a piece of shit in this part of the movie.
Seriously. He's like, well, what if nothing happens to you and you never meet anybody and you never become anything and then you die?
All right, Harry.
You're like, holy shit.
Why do you sound like me at 7 p.m. on a Wednesday? I don't need this from you. I'm watching this for escapism. So we're learning about Harry kind of as this conversation goes on that we will try very hard not to directly quote. He's a cynic with a dark side. He reads the last page of a book to know what happens in case he dies before he finishes. And I think in 2023, this man would be a sad boy with a handlebar mustache living in Brooklyn who only drinks cold brew. And I don't think I'm wrong. Sally's like, and a thing that I love about Sally that we learn in this part of the movie, we learn very early on and remains consistent, is that she's really not going to, Sally doesn't mask.
She is unapologetically herself
100% of the time.
And she's not gonna apologize. Like, yeah, I'm a happy person and there's nothing wrong with that.
Like, you're flooded with darkness and I'm a happy person, and that's fine, you fucking weirdo.
Yeah, like, you do you and this is how I do me. And she's consistent throughout the whole movie, and this is the one thing I admire about Sally Albright. It's just like,
I mean, it's not the one thing, it's among other things we admire about her as a character.
Yes, but this
the
especially
main thing, the top thing.
She is very true to who she is, like, at a young age. At 22, we're saying, she's knows who she is and she doesn't care what that means for you.
I love that. I think that women are so often taught to mask and hide and accommodate men. Fawn, I think, is like the correct word. I think women are taught to fawn over men, and I'm super guilty of doing that. I was very guilty of doing that when I was dating, like in my pre-married life. And a thing that I love about Sally, she never fawns. She is always herself.
She says it how she thinks it, like,
she says it with her chest,
unapologetically. On the other hand, Harry's like very proud of his dark side. And one thing I will say though is I'm with Harry. Like, don't fucking small talk me. Let's talk about impending doom. Let's talk about the meaning of life. Don't fucking talk to me about the weather. I don't care. I can't do it.
Paola and I are the same in this regard. Anyway, Sally is annoyed, and so are we as the viewer. Next thing you know, it is nighttime, and they're arguing about Ingrid Bergman and Humphrey Bogart's characters in Casablanca, the 1942 movie. Iconic.
One of my favorite old movies.
Yeah, and that was like an Us movie too.
It was.
Because I saw it and I was like, Paola needs to see it immediately.
Yo, Humphrey Bogart has like the original rizz swagoo.
Not rizz swagoo. That's a pasta dish I haven't had.
Because the way he's not even attractive, but he's got like this.
It's the voice, it's the delivery.
Yes.
Steve. Yeah, no. It's a real rizz swagoo. It's my favorite meal. Okay. So they're arguing about Ingrid Bergman and Humphrey Bogart's characters in Casablanca.
Harry argues that Rick, Humphrey Bogart's character, sends Ingrid away because he doesn't want to be with her anymore. Sally argues, like, no, she left because she doesn't want to actually be with him. So quick summary on Casablanca. Humphrey Bogart's character, his name is Rick, is an expatriate who runs a nightclub in Casablanca, Morocco, at the time occupied by Nazi-run France. Through the nightclub, he runs like a covert operation for refugees seeking papers to escape to the States during World War II. One day, this Czech resistance leader and his wife visit Rick at the bar for help to escape to the United States. The wife turns out to be Rick's long-lost love of his life, who left him stranded in Paris after they had a whirlwind romance right before the war broke out. So now the whole story revolves around him deciding whether to help this man, who's a revolutionary, escape to the United States, or if he's going to take this opportunity to try to reclaim and rekindle his love with the love of his life. I mean, it's an old movie. It ends with him helping them out, and she offers to stay with him and just send the husband away, but he urges her to leave with her husband back to the States. Anyway, so at the end of the movie, he ends up being the bigger man, helps them out, and urges her to go along with her husband and not stay in occupied Morocco. So that's why they're arguing that Ingrid Bergman's character, Ilsa, didn't want to stay behind with some dude that runs a bar in an occupied country. Meg Ryan argues that she wanted to go be the first lady of Czechoslovakia. All right, homie. Why are you fucking laughing at me? All right, let's do this together. Okay, hold on.
Weak.
All right. Where we at? Czechoslovakia.
Killing it. 10 out of 10
Okay. So Sally suggests that Ingrid did not want to stay in Morocco with some dude that runs a bar. She wanted to go be the first lady of Czechoslovakia. And Harry's like, so you rather be in a passionless marriage than live with a man that you've had the greatest sex of your life with just because he owns a bar? And she's like, yes. And so would Ingrid Bergman, because women are practical.
Respect.
So they're walking up into the diner and he's like, okay, you obviously haven't had great sex before. And she's like, I have had plenty of good sex. And she delivers this right as she's entering into the diner where everybody, record scratch, stares at her. Like, the hell did she
like,
just
who's
say?
this bitch who's had good sex?
Like, damn,
Why is she saying it right in front of my salad? Like, what? Why is she saying that here?
So this is one of those interactions that make me crack up every single time. Like this, the way she delivers this as she's stepping into the diner and everything just record scratch. It's so funny. Gets me every single time.
As they get into the diner, they sit down. Harry Burns asks Sally who she's had so much good sex with. And she
Sheldon.
mentions her boyfriend Sheldon. And
You ain't have good sex with Sheldon.
he, in my opinion, correctly asserts that Sheldon is not a good sex name. It's a good dentist name.
He can do your taxes.
And I love this joke so much. This is the kind of joke I make about people's names all the fucking time. I'm obsessed. I cackled. I was watching this literally a few hours ago and cackled at this joke. So that's not a good sex name. You're not gonna say, "Oh, Sheldon. Oh, for me, Sheldon." At this point, waitress interrupts again. As Paola and I have said, this is the only black person we see in the entire movie. She is the waitress at the diner. Ooh.
Respect.
This is the first
I
time
stand in solidarity
with the waitress at the diner.
At the diner.
More representation for the waitress at the diner. This is the first time that we see Sally order, right? They've sat down at a diner. They're going to get some food. Her style of ordering is unhinged. I'm not going to try to write it down. I'm not going to try to write it down. You guys could watch the movie, apparently.
You know, this is one of those, like, and respect, okay? Again, because she truly just, you know, she wants it how she wants it, and she don't care. Like, but at the same time, it's like, I feel like this is like, you almost have to apologize a little bit. Like, at least be
and
like,
she never
hey.
does.
Like,
it gives Karen.
Disclaimer. I'm about to give you a really long order. Thank you for your patience.
You might want to write this down.
You know, I appreciate your time. Like, no, we don't need to apologize. But let's be gracious. Like, anytime I see this, I'm like, oh my God. Thank you. I appreciate you writing all of this down for me so you can get it just right.
So again, I don't want to like directly quote all of the orders that Sally
I'll
makes.
fucking directly quote this.
Don't.
Shit.
It is just so long and convoluted. No, it's just so funny because as she's ordering, Harry just looks at her with this look of like open disbelief, and the waitress is also looking at her with open disbelief, and you know that waitress isn't gonna follow a damn thing Sally just said,
and she will say something.
And she absolutely will.
It does truly give me a little bit of Karen vibes.
It gives Karen.
And this is where I'm like, again, I respect it. It's just, let's be gracious. Yes, you should have it how you want it. You are paying for this. They are here to render a service. You know, just say thank you. But I mean, bottom line though, is she wants everything on the side.
That's the takeaway you get. That's the
takeaway. She needs it on the side because you're not going to put it on the right way. However, if it's from a can, give me nothing. I don't want it.
I'm dead. Not even the pie. No, I'd like the pie, but then not heated.
But then just don't heat it up.
And the waitress is like, what the goddamn fuck? It's so good. We're not going to say the entire order. Yeah. I'm pretty sure she has a funnier order later in the movie, I think. But after she puts in this insane order, Harry asks, why did you break up with Sheldon? And Sally's like, yo, it's none of your business why we broke up. I don't have to tell you that. And Harry, correctly again, says, you're right. I don't want to know. Well, if you must know. So fucking funny.
Every time.
So funny. We get this insane story about Days of the Week underpants. Where Sally says that her boyfriend Sheldon would get really jealous because she would wear her Days of the Week underpants, but she didn't have a pair that said Sunday. And he became fixated on why she never had the Sunday pair. She must have left it somewhere like a big slut.
God.
Harry says, well,
you can't fuck on a Sunday. It's God's
You can't
day.
fuck on a Sunday. You cannot. You better be praying.
Listen. How this is insinuating that these people have sex every single fucking day. Also, this is insinuating two things.
Paola, they're in college.
This is insinuating that one, she actually wears the Days of the Week underpants in order
on the days of the week.
And on the days of the week.
Oh my God. Can't relate.
That the consistency that takes.
8 pairs, Jesus. We have 7 pairs of underwear?
No, it's 6 because there's no Sunday.
That's when you go commando. But she says, Harry asks, well, what happened to Sunday? Why don't you have the Sunday pair? And she goes, they don't make Sunday. because of God.
What?
Fucking sends me. God, that part is so funny.
Oh my God.
Because it's me, and if you guys have listened to this podcast with any level of consistency, it doesn't have to be a lot. We don't have that many episodes yet. You will know that I do need to stop and discuss how much this diner meal was. Because Sally is calculating the tip. I didn't write down the exact amount because it would have made me too angry. But she says something like, your tip is 70 cents. She says 15% of my share is 90 cents. $6.90. Her order at the diner was $6. Guys.
And then she rounds it up to 7. So she tipped
$1.
$1. Oh my God.
7.
Can you imagine?
She with tip? I am immobilized. I am shocked. I am utterly
incredulous.
Thank you. My brain short-circuited when I found out they spent $7. She got the chef salad, Paola, and apple pie a la mode.
She got the chef salad, apple pie a la mode. That's $20.
My girl spent $7
without a drink
with tip. Okay. As Sally's calculating the tip, Harry is staring at her in a way that borders on uncomfortable. Says that she's very attractive and essentially like hits on her. And Sally does a big hard bonk on the no button. She's like, fuck that. My friend Amanda is your girlfriend. I'm not going to fucking entertain this. I can't believe that you're like suggesting
coming on
this,
to me.
that you're hitting on me.
Yeah. How dare you?
And this is where
That's
the argument
girl. I'll take it.
about whether, yeah, she's a girl's girl. We love that. Now that she has rejected Harry's pass at her, this is where the argument about men and women and their friendships begins. So he makes a pass at Sally. She's upset by it. And he responds by gaslighting her, which is so fun, and saying, can a man say a woman is attractive without it being a come on? Fine. Just for the sake of argument, let's say it was a come on. What do you want me to do about it? Take it back? And Sally's like, no, you can't take it back. It's already out there. You already said the thing. And I am going to quote this directly because it is so funny, and then I'm going to stop. Harry says, oh, geez, what are we supposed to do? Call the cops? It's already out there. Fucking kills me.
I don't want to laugh at this, but it is hilarious.
It's so fucking funny. I'm going to inject that into my daily like vocabulary. Sally says, just let it lie. Like, stop bringing it up. Stop making it weird. Harry says, let it lie. That's my policy. That's what I always say. Let it lie. Want to spend the night at a motel? See what I did? I didn't let it lie. It fucking kills me. And he goes, I didn't let it lie. I went the other way. And Sally's like, no, dude, we're not going to do that. Let's just be friends. Because often, and I'm going to bring this up because I think, especially in this part, it is relevant. Often, when women feel cornered by men or threatened by men because they are rejecting a romantic advance or a sexual advance, you feel the need as a woman, kind of ingrained in you to protect your safety, that you have to say you'll be friends. You have to appease the man. You have to fawn a little bit. So I still contend that Sally does not fawn over Harry, but this is a conditioned response in women. You can't just say, you hit on me. Fuck no. I don't like you that much to be your friend, and I don't like you enough to go sleep with you. No. You have to appease. You have to say, I'm not going to sleep with you. We're just going to be friends. Don't be angry at me. Relax. We'll just be friends. That is a socially conditioned response that I resent, but it's very authentic here how Sally uses it, right? We're just going to be friends.
Oh, yeah, no, because, the man can't feel rejected.
He can't feel bad because he might kill me.
You don't know how he's going to respond.
Literally. She suggests that they should be friends. And Harry's like, men and women can't be friends. So here lies the central theme of the movie, what we will explore time and again. Can men and women be friends? They can't be friends, in Harry's opinion, because the sex part always gets in the way.
Because apparently men in this
can't.
Time cannot think of anything else.
Men simply cannot. Sally vehemently disagrees. She's not about this shit. She says that she has male friends. And Harry's like, oh yeah? I bet your male friends want to have sex with you. Just you wait. Go hit on any of your male friends and see what fucking happens. And after this argument, she's just kind of like, guess we're not going to be friends then, dude. Like, too bad. You were going to be the only person I knew in New York.
Yeah.
Like, I don't fucking know anybody there. And it's going to be really lonely and weird. And Harry's like,
It's like as soon as he knows that sex is off the table,
He's over her.
that says she's disposable.
But that's men. That's men. Period.
As
Exactly.
portrayed in this movie. Yes.
As portrayed in this movie and as per
As portrayed
our discussion.
yes.
As per our discussion earlier, men view women a certain way, and when their transaction, their expectation of transaction,
The transaction. Oh goodness.
like women, that's when you stop. Or rather, well, some people, unfortunately, that's not where they stop. But with women, when the transaction doesn't go your way, you're moving on. It's next woman who will fulfill my end of the transaction. So cut to this beautiful shot of sunrise, a car driving over, I would assume to be the George Washington Bridge, but I can't be sure. Louis Armstrong's playing as they enter NYC. They drive down on to Washington Square Park. He will be living in the area, and she drops him off at the landmark. He gets his stuff out of the trunk. They awkwardly shake hands as they depart. And Sally says, "Have a nice life, I guess." And Harry's like, you too. In the notes, I have insert a Nadhya rant about how we've lost the art of losing touch with people entirely. Listen, in the age of social media, Facebook, phones, texting, constantly being in touch, there is like a delicate beauty to someone entering your life for 5 minutes and you never seeing, hearing, or knowing of them ever again. There is something I love about that. That like, this just kind of ships
The
in the night.
anonymity of
Yes!
just being able to meet someone and
you just meet them and it's
this was
over.
a nice interaction. Have a nice rest of your
Or
life.
even if it's a bad interaction.
No, these people
But
would
guess
have
what? It's
followed
over.
each other on social media and then just been stalking each other online for the next 10 years. Where's Harry going?
He's going to live under the arch at Washington Square Park.
He got dropped off at Washington Square Park. This isn't a residential area. No. Where are you going? Harry was dropped off at Washington Square Park specifically for the shot where the Twin Towers, RIP, are framed perfectly by the Arc de Triomphe.
And that, baby, is what we call direction.
Such a good shot. You got the yellow station wagon pulling up to the Arc de Triomphe. Oh, I can't see the Arc de Triomphe without thinking about I Am Legend.
Are you serious?
Seriously.
What a random fucking movie.
Isn't that wild? Yes. Beautiful shot. Yeah, but in that same way that social media has created kind of like this way that you can't really get rid of people. It's almost like you got to carry them with you forever, right? Like
to the point where I feel guilty if I like purge my Instagram followers.
Right. Like, oh, I can't unfriend this person. We met at such and such place.
We
had such a great conversation
17 years ago. Like, what?
You know, and you kind of just hold on. And next thing you know, you got like 1,000 followers. You only interact with like 20 people.
Yeah.
In the same way that it's kind of given this longevity to fake relationships, it's also made actual relationships that we're supposed to engage in more feel almost disposable, because we don't have to talk to so-and-so every day. We already see what they're doing. I don't have to check up on so-and-so's kids. Oh, I just saw their picture. They're so cute. In that same breath, you also no longer have to reach out to people. And it's so hard to build a meaningful bond and relationship with social media around. It's almost like you have to forcefully take yourself out of it and give somebody a call. And hey, let's get together. But you don't feel out of touch with people because you're constantly knowing how they're doing. There's almost like there's no incentive to, hey, I want to see how you and the family are doing. Come, let's have you guys over. Unless it's like an event. Now, now you're only really seeing people and spending time with people if there's an event.
As much as it is sad to hear about stories of people who like oh, I lost touch with my best friend in the 60s and I'll never know what happened to them after that. Or like, I've never heard of them again.
Because you lost their number and they don't live in the same place anymore.
Or
Yeah,
you
like,
had
that's
their number and they
crazy.
moved. Or
Right.
you knew where they lived
changed
and
their
they
number. Right.
exactly. Or women who were friends, but then the girl got married and doesn't know the last name and da 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 da. All of that like is very sad. And so for that type of reason and for keeping in touch with family and stuff, I love the premise of social media. But there is a genuinely delicate beauty to losing contact with someone, full stop. Like a 100% blockade on content and information about this person because your lives intersect only in one very specific way, and feeling that fate or something similar has brought you back together. So that's just my opinion. We get a cut-in of a couple of high school sweethearts, elderly couple. It's so cute. It's basically what we were just talking about, where in the 50s, they were in high school together. They were sweethearts. He moved before they graduated and they lost touch with each other. Years passed and they came across each other in the street and they were still in love. They looked exactly the same. He looked exactly the same. And it's a very, very cute moment.
I love that story.
Equal participation from both people in that one. So we get a title card on the taxi pickup area from an airport. 5 years later, we are at the airport where Sally is aggressively making out with a tall blonde man.
It's almost like the exact same shot you get with Harry in the beginning. Now you're getting it with Sally at the airport.
Oh shit, dude, you just blew my mind.
You know.
This is why I watch movies with you, for real. This is why I watch movies with you. Maybe it's holidays and that's why you assume that they're at the airport. So it's a tall blonde man who's handsome in a 70s way.
This is like a Ken and Barbie shot, honestly.
It literally is Ken and Barbie. They're both
you got
so
the blonde and blue eyes. He's like just a head taller than her. Probably,
Yes.
you know.
He's broad. He's brawny. As they're aggressively making out, Harry, looking totally different, with hair given to him by God and not whatever he was wearing in the first few shots of this movie, he is walking around them, but then kind of stops for a second and realizes that he knows the man in the relationship. From a few feet away, says his name, Joe.
It makes me uncomfortable.
That he interrupted their makeout.
Interrupts this makeout session. Like, how pressed do you have to be?
Harry takes the bold step of interrupting a couple in an active makeout.
Takes a bold step. Yes, 100%.
To say hi to this man. So turns out that they know each other. They used to live in the same building. They're friendly. They ask each other about their jobs. So they were definitely like friends enough to know a good amount about each other. Joe introduces Sally, his girlfriend, and he's like, this is Sally Albright, my girlfriend. And Sally immediately clocks that this is Harry. Again, she is a woman. Harry looks confused. He's kind of like, okay.
I've seen your face before, but I'm not
Right.
sure. I can't place it. Right.
And they say their hellos. He goes to get on his flight, walks away. And Sally goes to Joe and she's like, oh my God, I thought he would never leave. I drove with that guy from Chicago to New York after graduation and he was such a fucking weirdo. Oh, I'm so glad he didn't recognize me.
He was dating my friend and he made a pass at me.
And Joe's like, what happened? And she's like, what was that girl's name? And she's like being oblivious to the fact that Joe's like, did you guys fuck or not? Like,
right.
What
Pretty
happened?
much.
And
he reiterates, when he made a pass at you, what happened?
What happened? And Sally's like, I turned him down. He was dating my friend. I can't even remember her name, though. It's so crazy. And Joe's like, all right. Anyway, have a safe flight. I love you. And Sally's like, you do?
They've said I love you for the first time to each other.
At the fucking airport. What a wild choice, Joe. She is hype. They love each other. Amazing. She gets on the plane. She looks like she is fully in bliss.
She is in lovey-dovey bliss.
She is on cloud nine. Literally, figuratively. So Harry is seated in the row behind her. You could see that look on his face of like, where do I know you from? The flight attendant comes by to take everyone's orders as they're now like, in the air. That flight is going, baby. And Sally is like, you know what? I'll tell you what I want. I'm going to lay out a 50-point plan to how to make the drink I want. Okay? And you better follow it. As she says this insane order of like a weird, salty, Bloody Mary, tomato, and alcohol thing, Harry snaps his fingers in the row behind her and goes, University of Chicago, 1977, because her style of ordering has triggered his memory. No, and now he knows, oh, it's that crazy girl from Chicago.
But he was lurking behind her.
He was. He couldn't figure it out. This is what did it. So Harry starts wanting to talk to her, even though he's seated in the row behind her. The guy next to her goes, oh, do you guys know each other? Do you want to switch? And Harry's like, yeah, at the same time that Sally's like, no. So Harry and this man switch. Harry is now seated next to Sally for this flight. They start talking. How are you doing? How are you? You're with Joe. Yeah. You're different. You're different too. It's been 5 years since they've seen each other. We learn that Harry is getting married. And Sally's like, wow, that's like really optimistic for you because of the person you are.
Yeah.
And
what happened to the impending doom?
What happened to the impending doom? Harry's like, oh, you're dating Joe. Joe's a cool guy. Let me guess. You've been dating for what? 3 weeks? A month? And Sally's like, we've been dating for a month. And he's like, oh, that makes sense. She's like, why? Because a month in is where you would still drive someone to the airport. So the cynicism has gone nowhere. It just so happens that Harry's getting married. So that's when Sally's like, there he is, the same guy that I knew for 2 dreadful days at the end of senior year of college.
I mean, but he's on point though.
No, he's right.
Which is like almost infuriating.
They're talking a little bit more. Sally's like, it's so optimistic of you to get married. And Harry's like, yeah, I mean, that's what being madly in love does to you. And she's like, oh my God, madly in love. Like, that's
I love
amazing.
this side of you.
And he's like, yeah, and you just get tired of the whole thing.
Here we go.
And Sally's like, what? And he's like, the like dating and seeing people, wondering what she wants from you, wondering whether you can leave after you have sex. I mean, the whole thing. And Sally's like, Jesus Christ, here we go. It's like, here we fucking go. Here's the shit. He's the same fucking person. She kind of expresses this of like, oh my God, this is so annoying. And he goes, how long do you like to be held afterward? Whoa. Intimate question. And he answers his own question and goes, all night, right? Yeah. That's where your problem is. Your problem is between 30 seconds, the amount of time that a man would want to hold the woman before fucking leaving and going home, and all night. That line gives me so much pause. Somewhere between 30 seconds and all night is your problem. And I'm like, ah!
The way that repeats in my head.
Literally.
I mean, I don't gotta fucking worry about that now, but still, like.
You never had to worry about that. Shut the fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
I love how your silence is like, you are right. I had to worry about that at some point in my life. I currently don't. But yeah, I relate to that hard. Or at least like 23-year-old me relates to that hard. They land. They've ostensibly gotten off the plane. They are on that little speedy walkway that takes you from your terminal over to the baggage claim. And he's like still standing with her, and she is pointedly trying to ignore him. He asks if she wants to go to dinner.
And she goes, well, I thought you said men and women couldn't be friends. And he's like, if they're in relationships, they can. And then he kind of thinks about that for a second and then backtracks and is like, actually, no, they still can't be friends because the significant other is going to wonder why you're friends with the person and what's missing in the relationship.
And why you don't want to fuck them.
And they're going to think you're either attracted to this person. It just creates drama for your relationship. Therefore, his original theory that men and women can't be friends still stands.
Sally is like, Jesus Christ, like it never fucking ends with this guy. And she's like, okay, no dinner. And he's like, all right, so yeah, I'll stand back here and I'll just let you go ahead of me. And they part ways again.
When you're walking next to somebody and you're having like conversation and it's like, once it's done, all right, have a nice day. And I step back even though we're walking the same way.
So scene ends. We get an insert of a formerly divorced couple who then got remarried in their older age, 35 years to the day after their first marriage. This man was a player and a half and seems like he was nasty. Her knowing all of the names of his wives.
She's me. Like,
she's got the memory of the elephant in this relationship.
This woman, the fact that he doesn't know anybody's name or what happened, what year it was, she knows down to first, last name, who her mother was, who her sister was. She's got all the tea on all the women that he was dating.
And he's out here just like, I couldn't keep my eyes off you. And she's like, okay.
Yeah, sure.
That's one of the ones that I find really, really funny. So we get another title card 5 years later, 10 years on from the start of the movie. Sally is at brunch with the girls, and we find out that one of her friends, named Marie, who is played by Carrie Fisher, the late, great Carrie Fisher, incredible actor, incredible writer. She was so fucking cool.
What restaurant is this that they're at? Because
I don't know, because it's beautiful.
And they're right on the water. You see all the fall trees in the background. It is gorgeous. And the blazers. These blazers are giving...
Oh, it's a power shoulder? Oh,
yes.
You're serving female empowerment with that sharp shoulder? I thought so. Marie is discussing her relationship, which you very quickly find out is with a married man. So she is having an affair with a married man. And something that kind of recurs throughout the movie with regards to Marie's character is when she'll say something about, I can't believe he's doing this. He's never going to leave her. And the friends that she's with, who keep it real, which I appreciate, goes, no one thinks he's going to leave her. He's not going to leave her. And Marie goes, you're right. You're right. I know you're right.
You're right.
And Paola and I say that to each other all the time.
That's part of my regular vocabulary.
You're right. I know you're right. After this discussion where Marie's acknowledging, but has no action plan, by the way, for how to deal with this fucking guy.
It bothers me that she's in an active relationship with a married man. If you're in a relationship with somebody who's married, whether you're a man or a woman, like you're not a girl's girl. You're not a guy's guy.
I feel like often those relationships start with one party not knowing that the other party is married and finding it out in time.
And then being in too deep
to end it.
You're not a girl's girl. I don't root for...
You don't root for adulterers?
I don't.
Philanderers?
No.
That's so weird of you, Bauna. So... married woman.
That's so kind of considerate of you.
13 years. That's so respectful of women of you. That's so girl of you. After this conversation at the brunch regarding Marie's love life, Sally announces without fanfare, she and Joe have broken up after 5 years. But she has had a few days to get used to it. And she's chill. Sally is coolin'. She's stoic. She is not showing emotions about this. Marie is many things, right? Marie is that character, that quirky best friend character who you don't see develop as much as the main character, but I would say that the side characters in this movie get a fair amount of development and their storyline is satisfying. But Marie has this desperation to be partnered that is like so unappealing. And the only person who could have made this endearing, honestly, is Carrie Fisher, because anyone else, you're just like, shut the fuck up. She's like, oh my God, you broke up with Joe? Who are you going to go to things with? You had a person. Who cares if you weren't happy? You should have just stayed. And it is bonkers.
I mean, I guess that reflects in how she fucking handles her romantic situation.
That's true.
Like, she just needs to be had.
She just needs to be with a person. It doesn't matter who they are or how, like, or why. So Sally is kind of like the other side of that, where she was like, well, you know, we weren't really getting what we wanted, so the relationship is over and I'm fine with that. Marie immediately tries to set her up. My girl pulls out a Rolodex of men's
From
contact
her
information.
Pocketbook.
Stop it.
Big ass roll. Did you just carry those around? I mean, I'm old enough to remember Rolodexes.
Same.
But like, that's like something you had like in the office, at your desk, at home somewhere. In your bag? Did you just carry somebody? Hey, 40 plus, let us know. Did you carry a Rolodex in your bag?
So Sally's like, no, dude, I'm not fucking ready to be in another relationship. Stop it. Her other friend who's at the table, who is married with children, says, oh, like you're doing so well. You're in really great shape. But aren't you afraid that the clock is ticking? Like the biological clock for children. Sally says, you know, if neither of them are satisfied in their relationship and they've been drifting apart, there's no reason to stay. She's 31 years old. She deserves to have what she wants. Love that about Sally. Love that for Sally. Her friends are like, wow, you're doing amazing. We admire you so
healthy.
Much. You're a pillar of strength. Cut to Harry and who we presume to be his best friend sitting at a very packed, very active baseball game. Harry goes through a very, very funny story.
A very heartbreaking story. It's
A
just told
heartbreaking
in a
story
funny
delivered
way.
so funny. Oh my God, stop. I would have to laugh if this was my friend. I'm sorry. But he tells Jess about how his wife, who he ostensibly had been married to for about 5 years, kind of the same length of Sally's relationship, unexpectedly asked for a separation, then a divorce, and then moved out only within a couple weeks. Very short span of time. Turns out after all that, she had been seeing someone else and ended up moving in with him. So ended their marriage because of infidelity. This conversation gets interrupted by them standing up to do the wave 3 times.
The funny shit is it doesn't get interrupted. They just keep talking. Like,
well,
he's
it's
just
part of the rhythm of the conversation.
It's part of the rhythm of the conversation when he's like, you know, and then the fucking movers get there, and then it's their turn to go in the wave, and they get up, do the wave, sit back down, and he continues his story.
And he's like, anyway, these guys came to the door, and you're just like, oh my God. But that is like, I love that because it is very a thing friends do. Like, I've definitely been at a concert with my friend and like, yeah, wow, and then turned to my friend and continued our conversation. So not only does Harry look different, now he has a beard, his hair's a little bit shorter than the last time we saw him, but he's super subdued. I mean, he's sad, and the sadness is showing. Unlike Sally, who is still carrying around like a lot of pep and like optimism.
Well, you also see like the contrast in the way they communicate. Like, where Sally's at brunch with her girls and it's an intimate conversation. You're getting into detail. You're going back and forth. And whereas Harry, it's almost like this can't be the focus of what we're doing. It can't be the sharing. Like, I'm going to share with you, but we're at a sports event.
We are participating in activity. And because we are doing activity, I will share information with you.
Yes, it has to. It has to be kind of like the secondary thing that you're doing.
That's very dudes.
Yeah, like you don't get together to talk about your shit. You get together and then like your shit gets peppered into the things you're doing.
Right. Very dudes. After this very funny scene at the baseball game, we cut to a bookstore where Marie, Carrie Fisher's character, is telling Sally that she went through her lover's briefcase and found receipts for things that he had bought his wife and has determined that he's never going to leave her. He's never going to leave her. And Sally is a good friend, and she says no one thinks he's going to leave her.
No, and she asked the right question. She's like, what if he would have seen you going through his fucking mail? Like, what are you doing?
And she's like, well, that's not the point.
She's completely like, I don't fucking care about your opinion. I'm just telling you about
That's not the damn point, Sally, you bitch. The point is what I found. We get a quick little cut of half of a man's face.
There's somebody staring at you from Personal Growth.
It's Harry, baby.
I think it's hilarious that she sees Harry in Personal Growth. I think it's a little bit of storytelling there.
Absolutely.
And how different he is from the first time we saw Harry to now.
He is so much more subdued.
So much more mature. He even seems kinder.
Marie is like, do you know that guy? Sally's like, oh yeah, I drove with him from Chicago to New York like 10 years ago. It was so weird.
He's married. You would like him.
Oh. And that's how I know Sally and I would be similar types of friends. Marie's like, wait, is this like fate? Like in The Lady Vanishes, a movie I've never seen. And Sally's like, yeah, no, it's not like that. Again, he's married and he sucked when I met him and it was annoying. He's obnoxious. Harry walks over to them like slowly. And as Sally is saying, he never remembers my name. And Harry goes, Sally Albright. Yeah. And Marie promptly finds the exit.
That's me, baby. I see you having a good interaction. I'm stage left.
He's so much nicer, just softer looking, kinder, a little beaten down, a little sad. He just is a
little beaten down, right?
Yes, like he looks like a better person.
Is that why they left the beard, right? Because
I think so. It makes him look disheveled.
It just needs to be shaped up.
As they're exchanging pleasantries, especially because Harry knew Sally's former partner Joe, he's like, how's Joe doing? And Sally says, in a way that anyone who's been in a relationship and then broken up knows, I've heard he's fine, because that is the way to let somebody know, nope,
you're no longer speaking to this person.
Exactly. Harry's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, that's so sad. And she's like, no, it's all right. We're cool. We're getting over it. How about you? How's married life? And Harry's like, I'm getting a divorce. I love this interaction because Sally, without being embarrassed about asking, which I think a lot of people, when they hear bad news, they're like kind of irrationally embarrassed, and very genuinely is like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like,
Yeah.
that's awful. Like, I'm really like feeling for you. He asks her what happened with Joe. We cut from them having this discussion in the bookstore to them at a very empty restaurant over a meal, where they kind of seamlessly continue the conversation. They're sitting across from each other, and Sally's like, yeah, like, we always thought we don't have any kids, we're not married, isn't our relationship so great? Like, we're so cool and spontaneous. But it wasn't enough for me. I wanted a family, and Joe didn't. I wanted to get married or something like that, and Joe didn't. Once we had that discussion and we realized we didn't want the same things, we ended it. And Harry's like, wow, like, you seem like you're doing really well.
Where, you know, he's obviously still struggling with his divorce. And he's kind of, wow, you're really handling it well. Almost like envying how well she's taking it.
So again, Harry is so much softer, kinder. Earlier in the movie, he would have said 10 off-color things, and he hasn't said any of them. And after they have this meal, we see them walking probably through Central Park. It's late afternoon at this point. It's probably 3 or 4 p.m. Sally's outfit is incredible. She's been wearing this amazing burgundy turtleneck, like rust-colored turtleneck. That looks amazing
on her skin color.
She looks fabulous. And she's wearing like warm-toned makeup, like blush and eyeshadow. She looks amazing. She has the skin of a baby, gorgeous glowing blue eyes, and she's got this like very shaggy kind of like bushy looking hair that I personally love and would also wear today.
Which we've worn our whole lives.
Our entire lives. Sally's outfit is goals, tapered jeans, brown loafers, this amazing like brown tweed blazer over this rust colored turtleneck. She looks fabulous. They're walking in Central Park. The foliage, the scenery, the colors. It's an autumn dream. Things are looking up. Both of them are a little bit, I think they're feeling more unburdened. I think they're feeling lighter after this conversation with each other. And they're kind of like, you know what? At least we got to keep our apartments. Ha ha ha. It's so hard finding apartments in New York. Harry admits that when they met, he didn't like her. Sally's like, I didn't like you either. And Harry goes, you were so uptight back then. You're much softer now. And I love that Sally shuts that shit down quick.
Like, what does that mean?
She says, I hate that kind of remark. It sounds like a compliment, but really it's an insult. And she does not apologize. She doesn't go, well, I was different. She doesn't try to equivocate. She just says, I don't have to justify the person I am or the person I was, but I hate that you think what you said was a compliment.
Like, you just felt some type of way that I didn't want to sleep with you. And so you had to write it off as my character flaw as opposed to something being wrong with you.
Yeah.
Love that every single time. And actually, the irony of him saying that is that he's the one who's softer. He's the one who has changed, because he takes that and accepts it and is like, you're right, I'm sorry. Where he would have just argued and mansplained his way out of that 10 years prior.
Kept going.
Yeah. So adorable.
Listen, this is what I'll say about Billy Crystal in this movie. Billy Crystal's not really our type. He's not the guy that we're going to get with. That's fine. The Rizz, he's exuding.
He's got a charm. He's
got
vibes.
Person. He's got confidence. He's so fucking funny.
I mean, you have to. He's 5'7".
He's
got to make up for it.
God. They get to the end of this conversation. Harry is ostensibly kind of in a playful way apologizing for his behavior 10 years prior. And they kind of stop and look at each other for a moment. And Sally asks Harry, would you want to have dinner sometime? And it doesn't feel romantic. It feels like, hey, we've just had this discussion where we've both gone through something similar recently. And it would be nice to talk to somebody about it who gets it. Like, that's the subtext here.
Yeah, well, we just had a nice lunch and we're having a nice conversation now. I would like to continue to have a nice conversation. And I think that after having seen the exchange that Sally was having with her friends, you see as the viewer, you're seeing how her friends are projecting onto her. They're projecting what they would do.
Oh, you're doing so well. Oh, you're so healthy, man.
Right. Her one friend who has kids and a husband, she's projecting, oh my God, your clock is ticking, because in her life, that's what's important in her life. She's got her kids and she's family oriented, blah, blah, blah. Then you got her other friend who's so obsessed about being in a relationship, and she's projecting that onto her. And so her having sat with Harry and him just listening to her, like without projecting that onto her and telling her what she needs to do and how she needs to process, is refreshing. That's what they find in each other.
Yes.
Somebody you can talk to without feeling like you're being judged or told what to do.
Exactly. And someone who understands without you needing to explain how you're feeling. Once Sally asks Harry to dinner, he replies by saying, "Are we becoming friends now?" And she's like, "Yeah, I guess so." And he goes, "Great, a woman friend, you fucking weirdo." As they're walking away, having more banter, silly banter about how they're going to be friends, the scene of them walking away, kind of angled towards the sunset, is a replica of the closing shot of Casablanca.
Yes! Oh, yes! Thank you!
This is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Yes! Nadhya, I'm so proud of you. We here, baby. We here.
I'm dead.
Yes, this is definitely a replica of End of Casablanca. This is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
I know. It's so clever. It's so good. So we cut away from that scene. We have an insert of two precious old people who keep talking over
They're
each
one
other.
of my favorites.
They're my favorites.
And it's like they're talking over each other, but they're continuing.
It's one continuous thought.
It's so cute.
And no, they don't get angry about talking over each other. They don't get mad about interrupting each other. They just keep going. So funny. I love like the end of that interaction. They met kind of at some hotel and he's like, "I rode up 9 extra floors just to keep talking to her." And she looks at the camera and goes, "9 extra floors," and just smiles like the goofiest fucking smile. It's very
and
cute.
then smiles at him.
So after this insert, we cut to a voiceover of Sally and Harry talking on the phone as they're watching Casablanca. And we get a fun montage underneath this voiceover where we see Sally and Harry at their respective jobs. Harry's really depressed. Mm-hmm. Sally's keeping very busy.
Well, they're talking to each other about their relationships. And you see this as they're going about their day.
And so Sally's at a dance class. Harry is sitting on the floor of his unfurnished, cavernous apartment.
There's a part where she's like ordering food at a restaurant and he's just looking at her. And there's a point where him and the waiter just make eye contact. Like, what the fuck? And then my favorite part is when she's putting the letters in the mailbox. One by one, she's got like 50 letters in her hand and he's trying to be patient. And then ultimately he just grabs all the fucking letters and throws them in the mailbox. It gets me every time. And yes, I love how they end this montage in bed watching Casablanca together.
Where Harry's like, "I think I'm coming down with something. Depression, a brain tumor." Like he's like very dramatic and very sad. And Sally's like, "Shut the fuck up, you drama queen." Her processing is keeping so busy, just doing stuff constantly. She's watching Casablanca. He's like, "All right, give me the channel," because it's the 80s. So after the montage, we continue the conversation in real time for the movie. They're both in bed. The shot on the screen also really tickles me because this feels very old school. Like, it is the most straightforward way of doing this, but in 2023, we would find the most difficult and annoying way to view this scene where literally just the screen is split in half and each of them are in one half of the screen in their respective beds at their respective homes. As they're on the phone, there's no colors of the wind flowers, no puff of smoke happening. And Harry's like, "You really think Ingrid Bergman would be happier with Victor Laszlo than Humphrey Bogart?" And Sally's like, "I never fucking said that. Shut your goddamn mouth." She absolutely did say that at the beginning of the movie. And Harry's like, "Fine." Again, more growth, because Harry would have argued with her for ages in their previous iterations of themselves. And instead he's like, "Okay, whatever you say."
Well, he's been married.
He's been married. He gets it. Happy wife. No. They keep having a conversation again about how they're doing, how they're processing their respective breakups. He's definitely a lot more open about his emotional vulnerability than she is. She's just kind of like, "No, I don't miss him. Yes, I'm doing fine." He's like, "I feel bad. I'm feeling so sick." And they're talking about like being depressed, whether they're sleeping. Sally's sleeping too much. Harry's not sleeping enough. They get to the last scene. They both watch it together.
And so as they're watching Casablanca, one of the things he says is like, for some reason, Ingrid Bergman is low maintenance, which I don't get from Ingrid Bergman.
I don't get that from her either.
Not at all. She's always looking spectacular.
Oh, flawless.
In Casablanca, I wanted every single outfit Ingrid Bergman wore in Casablanca.
Incredible.
And he's like, you know, there's two types of women, high maintenance, low maintenance. Sally asks, which one am I? He's like, you're the worst kind. You're high maintenance, but you think that you're low maintenance. She's like, what do you mean? And then he starts to narrate like how she orders a salad. Again, I love the spot there. She's just like, well, I like it how I like it.
Doesn't give an inch.
Harry is like, yeah, it's high maintenance.
Like, I'm not telling you to change.
I'm not telling you
it's
wrong. I'm just telling you what it is. And she's like, yeah, okay. So now they're hanging up for the night. And he's like, you know, so what are you going to do? She's like, oh, I'm going to go to sleep. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to stay up and moan. And then starts moaning on the phone, whatever that means.
I fucking love that line. I guess I'll just stay up and moan. Like,
and
even
then he
just
just goes,
delivery. After Harry's up and moaning for a couple seconds, we cut to the next scene where Sally and Harry are walking together through the most beautiful autumnal scene where they're talking about their most embarrassing dreams. Sally's dream is really dumb.
This is the photograph when Harry met Sally.
This is the cover of the movie. Yes.
This is orange trees, the most perfect outfit.
Aye.
We have the gray blazer with the hat. We got slouchy pants with with a good like slouchy shirt, some loafers on. I love this outfit on Meg Ryan.
Oh, she looks amazing. He also looks
I'll wear
pretty
this
good.
tomorrow.
Agree. I'll do my hair like her, makeup like her, and wear all of her outfits from the latter half of the movie except for the formal dresses tomorrow. The formal dresses I simply cannot abide by. So their walk has ostensibly led them to the Met. They've walked through Central Park, gone to the Met, walked through it together. They're in this like large, I think it's like the Egyptian room at the Met that has like a wall of windows and it's stunning.
So while they're at the Met, they're kind of having this banter back and forth. They're being, you know, they're being funny. And you kind of see how their friendship has grown and it's like a light kind of fun friendship. And Harry asks her out to the movies. Hey, you want to go see a movie with me tonight? In this accent he's imitating. And she's like, I have a date tonight, but I kind of felt weird about telling you, which says a little bit about how she feels about their relationship.
Yep.
And he's like, oh my God, what do you mean you feel weird? Like, I'm so happy that you have a date. That's awesome. The next line is like, you know, Harry, I think you should get out there too.
Implying that he hasn't been dating for a long time.
Right. And he's like, no, I'm not ready. He can't be serious about it. He's still doing it in this accent he's imitating. And he's like, no, I'm not ready. But he was going to ask her out to the movie. So he doesn't see that as a date. But anyone else he would go out with, he sees it as a date. That he's not ready for. To go out with her to the movies, though, he could. And then he asks her, like, is that what you're wearing?
That's so funny.
We love to hear this from a friend, right? Is that what you're wearing? And she's like, yeah, why? What's wrong? And he's like, you know, you should wear skirts more. You have great legs. And you're like, oh, shit. Okay. All right, Harry. Tell me about Sally's legs.
He says you look good in skirts, you fucking creep. You have reached the end of our first part of our two-parter on When Harry Met Sally, because if you know anything about us at this point, you know that we cannot shut up and we have so many opinions on the movies that we love. Just to summarize, Harry and Sally have met. That's implied by the title. They're coming across each other at another time in their lives where they've actually been able to become friends, in spite of Harry's belief that men and women cannot be friends because the sex part will always get in the way. Now Harry and Sally are branching out, trying their hands at dating, and let's see how that goes for them and what will happen to their friendship and their relationship as we get into part 2. Stay tuned for part 2 of When Harry Met Sally. I hope you enjoyed this part. Thank you so much for listening. engage with us on social media. Find us at Sisflix Podcast on Instagram and on TikTok. Send us an email at sisflixpodcast@gmail.com and let us know your thoughts. And if you like what you've heard or you want to hear more, please leave a rating or a review on any of your podcast listening platforms. They help boost our moods and they help other people find us. Thank you so much. Bye.